We should talk about the, apparently we did not talk about part 3. So we've filmed part 3 already.
Yeah.
Guys, there's some people asking, like, where the heck are these freaking videos? So part 1 has been delayed to YouTube because we've had embargoed releases,
Techtober.
time-sensitive videos that have kept bumping it and bumping it and bumping it, because the Linux Challenge is not, I understand it's time-sensitive from your perspective, you want to watch it, but it's not time-sensitive from a, oh my goodness, this product launches today. If we don't cover it today, no one will care about it tomorrow. We must launch this video. So we've been pushing it. And then part 2 has been delayed by the absolute cluster hump of footage that I provided to the editors. My screen cap is like kind of tied to my doc of just general notes, but then my scripts, while they are derived from my doc of general notes, also have other thoughts that I've added after the fact.
Yeah.
So putting together the exact moment of screen cap that's supposed to accompany every point that I make in those is going to be very challenging. And I would have gone through and done it for them, but I have been absolutely slammed. I have not had any time to look at it. Part 3 is delayed by part 1 not being up on YouTube and part 2 not being edited and up on Floatplane, but it is shot. Luke and I have done all of the work for it. And I think we can definitely tease part of it, but part 3, we decided to pivot. Part 3 was supposed to be game launchers, but because I just have not kept up with getting all the game launchers installed, I was like, hey, Luke, can we make part 4, part 3? And he was like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't care.
So part 3 ended up being non-gaming. So James created a series of challenges for us, and how did you do?
It was like,
don't give them the exact like score or anything, but like, how'd you feel about non-gaming on Linux?
I was pretty confident going into it, but I was pretty confident before I knew what the tasks were, but I was a little bit concerned. I like pre-downloaded a few programs just expecting some things because we had time limits for each one of the tasks.
Yeah.
And I didn't want like downloading things to affect me heavily.
Right.
And I knew like I could probably argue like, let's just not worry about the amount of time it took to download the thing because that's going to be the same on pretty much everything. But I just didn't want to even think about it. So I like pre-downloaded like GIMP, which is a photo editing software, and like a couple things that I was like, you know what? Editing a photo is probably a pretty standard task. Let's make sure I have the stuff to do that and like just do a couple things as long as I could get them. If I remember correctly, my rule for that was that it was getting it from the package manager.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was brain dead easy to find it and get it, then I like let myself get it before I read what the tasks were. And then I read the tasks, at which point I was not doing anything until the event started. And I was like, sweet.
You're ready to rock.
This is going to be really easy. I didn't even need anything that I pre-downloaded. The one thing that I told you on the call, I had to get that during the challenge because I didn't pre-download that.
Yeah.
So like, because that wasn't in the package manager. So yeah, and it ended up being incredibly easy to the point where certain tasks there, one very much in particular, and you probably know what one I'm talking about, was genuinely notably easier, I would argue, on Linux than I've had experiences doing those types of things in the past.
We can spoil that one. I think you're talking about printing.
Yes.
So my ancient printer, there's only one place. It's like some weird third-party driver repository that still has drivers for it. It's a CLP 310 or something. Maybe you'll find another place for the drivers. Don't send it to me. I don't care. I have it stored on my NAS now. And it's like this whole, it's this MSI that you have to extract to actually grab the stupid, what are they, I don't remember what the extension of the file type is. .ini, is that it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is to find the actual like driver file, and then you have to go through and manually add the printer, point it at the specific file, and then it'll load, and it works perfectly. Everything is fine. Because even though it's a Windows 7 driver, I think it's a super old printer. So even though it's a Windows 7 driver, Microsoft has actually done an outstanding job of maintaining driver compatibility from Windows Vista. Really, you can sometimes use Vista drivers on like Windows 10 and you'll get away with it. Not every time, to be very clear. So it works perfectly if you can figure out how to install the freaking thing. On Linux, I was like, uh-oh, how hard is this going to be? Because it's this ancient printer. Add network printer. It was like, you mean this one? And I was like, yes. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, mine like my girlfriend has a printer. I have not had a printer, I think, ever. I've just always used like
Yeah.
other people's, my parents, whatever. And every once in a while when the printer turns on, I'll just get a little like system notification that's like, printer connected. So leading up until this task, I've just been like, I wonder if that works. I just have no reason to print anything ever. Like I haven't had to print something in years.
Yeah, Jamal
and then it worked
Taylor.
immediately.
That's what happened. That's right. Samsung sold their printer division to HP, who gave exactly 0 flying Fs about properly supporting the old Samsung versions of the printers. That's why I can't just go on Samsung's website and download the driver package for it anymore. And I remember now.
Gotcha.
There you go.
But yeah, printing, like the one of the most like stereotypical things that's annoying to do on Windows.
Yes.
Like attaching printers was just the easiest thing ever. And we've been saying for years, like this should
How
be
is
so
printing
much.
so broken?
And then
It turns out it's Microsoft's fault.
yeah.
Good to know.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for clearing all of that up for me real good.
It's ridiculous.
So that's going to be an interesting one. We've got I think it's 12 challenges that we have to go through, and then we have a time limit that is allotted to each challenge. You may not spend longer than 15 minutes. And I did run into one kind of Linux-ism. There was something that is very simple to do if you happen to know the utility to use. So Luke blew right through it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was not able to complete
Mine
it
was luck.
within my 15 minutes. Now, I could have done it. I could have done it if I had like 2 hours to dedicate to it, to finally find a guide. But you guys are going to see, especially in a time-constrained environment, which can happen without the artificial 15-minute timer. But if you don't have all the time in the world to figure out how to do a basic freaking thing, it can be an extremely frustrating experience. And that particular one ended up not being simple. When you see how not simple mine was, it'll blow your mind. You'll be like, how is this not one button? How is this not completely automatic like it was for yours?
And like I just tried to Google it. Like what would I do? Because the first thing that I was scratching my leg. The first thing that I did was just Google the exact name of the program that I like using on Windows, and then the word Linux after it.
Yeah.
And just lo and behold, it happens to have a Linux version. So that was very lucky. But I just tried Googling the term I would have used if I had no knowledge of that program in the past. It did not come up.
Yeah. So I didn't Google anything because I already had an application pre-installed as part of my distro or desktop environment, whatever determines which application I got,
Sure.
that supported that file format and supported that functionality,
Right.
but required me to go and create like a certificate in order to do it. And the guide for how to do that was like
Which
really
is like,
focused on like more like web developers as opposed to what I was trying to do. And that's the thing about Google. Google search is amazing. If you happen to be looking for the answer that everyone else who used those keywords was looking for. But as soon as you've got a keyword that sounds like something, but is actually something else, you are done. I've actually run into situations where, I don't even remember what Microsoft's Bing. I've actually run into situations where Bing has managed to get me the result I need that Google can't provide me because it sucks so much. Because it's just like, what are you looking for? Oh, here's some random crap. Thanks, Bing.